What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at very basic material setup. So all this is going to consist of is a base color, a metallic or metalness value, and a roughness value. It's three things we're going to be changing, and we can make these kind of materials. We've got a gold or brass kind of thing. We've got a very shiny sort of blue plastic. We've got very chrome, like very just, or mirror, more like a mirror. And we've got a sort of very matte, could be plastic, just something that's sort of a matte red. So to get started, first we're going to do is we're actually going to click on one of these, and I'm going to duplicate it by holding Alt and then clicking one of the drag locations and moving it. We're just going to be popping him in the middle. If you select this little square here, it will do the X and Y, which means it will stay on the surface without going up. I'm just going to pop him in the middle. Now, right click in an empty spot in your material, or in your concept browser, sorry, and click material. And we're just going to call it basic color tutorial. If we go into here, we've got the material editor, material graph, which I've shown in the last two videos. Now, first thing we need to start on is putting in two 1 constancies and a 3 constant. So hold 1 left click and you get your 1 constancies, and 3 left click to get your 3 constant. I'm going to drag him into base color. I'm going to drag this one into our metallic and this one into our roughness. And we basically have the first sort of stages on getting our material. So depending on what you want to make, let's make like a orange metallic material. So to achieve this, first click on your 3 constant. Click on the black square there, because that black, or rectangle should I say, is basically your color. And select what color you want in the color wheel. You just mess with this. That. So we're going to have now a shiny sort of plastic. We want it to be metal. So come into your metallic value, set that to 1 to make it full metal. Now, in most cases, especially if you're doing realistic scenes, you'll tend to want to keep your metallic either 0 or 1. You can go in between and have it partially metallic, and you can achieve some cool materials, especially in stylized, to do this. And a lot of the time, I tend to make my stylized assets only 0.8, because a slight off metallic look tends to look quite good. But if you're making realistic materials, and it's supposed to be metal, you'll tend to want to sit at a straight value of 1. To understand this as well, if you look at metallic and roughness, it means exactly what it says on the tin, right? So if we have 0 metallic, so a 0 value here, it means it's not metal at all. Same with the roughness. If we have 0 roughness, you're telling the engine that you don't want it to be rough at all. I want 0 roughness on this asset, means you want it to be shiny. If you want 1 roughness, that means you're telling it I want it to have the max amount of roughness, which means you don't want it to have any shine. These values only go between 0 and 1. So going above those values won't do anything. If we make it a value of 1 in roughness, we'll get a complete matte metal. So this is still metal, but it's like matte. It's not reflective at all. If I put 100 in this, it will look exactly the same. Same with going to 0 and then -1. It'll look exactly the same. Now, you tend to not want your materials to be completely reflective, so let's have a slight off, maybe a 0.1 or 0.2. Cool. Let's make it more orange. This is just turning out to be gold, actually. Let's make it like a hot pink. Make it hot pink, and we get this very pink metallic material, and click apply. Cool. Now, to get that actually on this asset, you can either do this 2 ways. On this asset, you actually have it's got 2 separate materials, one being the Unreal logo with this bits in it. If you hold left click and drag it onto a part of your mesh, it'll apply to it. Same with the other part here. Or you can click the asset like we have here and drag it here to know exactly what element you're replacing. Or you could double click the mesh and you'll go into the mesh properties. And at the top, you'll have material slots, and it would do it here as well. So you're not actually seeing changes here because I've applied a material to it. If you click the refresh here, I'm going to put default on, so just reset the properties. And then pop that on there, and I'll apply it. The reason sometimes you want to do it on the objects like I just did is because now every time I re-drag in the asset, it will always have that material on it. So if you always want something to, for example, have a glass material on it, you'll make sure it's applied to the actual asset itself, so no matter how many times you drag it in, it'll automatically have that glass material on it. I don't want to do that because I want to have it so I could change the materials at any time, so I'm just going to keep it like this, and then when we want to actually drag the pink on it, I'll just do that, and we can go through our materials. And that is how you set up very basic materials. Again, you can come in here and you can change this to what you want. If you want it to be green, I want it to still be metal, but I want it to be very rough. It goes 0.85, and I'll have a very rough metallic sort of surface if I apply it to it. If I instead want it to be plastic, 0. Now it's going to be more plastic looking, or not plastic, it's just not going to be metallic. The biggest difference between a metallic surface and a non-metallic surface, and I can show you this very clearly, is if we set it to be, let's set it to be fully actually, full rough, which means it's completely shiny. If I click apply, our light source is white, and you can actually see the dot of the light source right there, or it might be a slight yellow. You'll tend to reflect the color of the light source if it's not metallic. So if you have a red light source, here, and stronger. Let's turn down the reflection a little bit just to make the surface receive a bit more of that color. So come back into here. We've got our light in the background too, but as you can see, look, you can see that red source. It will try to reflect the color of your light source. If I make it metallic, however, it will kind of reflect the color of the light source, but it will mostly reflect the color of the surface. And you can actually see it here. Look, our light looks green now, but when it's plastic, the light looks white. See that? Apply. I'm going to make the light source look more green. As you can see, the red reflection looks a bit weird because it's basically combining red and green together, and it's making it look a bit blue. And yeah, that's basically the biggest difference between metallic and non-metallic. Is a metallic object will tend to reflect the color that it is instead of the actual light source, or it will sort of mix them together. And that is how you set up very basic materials in the Unreal Engine. I hope you guys enjoyed. In the next video, I'm going to be showing how to set these up as instances and parameters. So I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.